Namaste, Wholeness Tribe, to Ruby with Wholeness Balance. Alright, this video, it's going to be on the topic of separation on your journey. So, this is real for me. This is real for me. And anybody and everybody that knows me knows this is real for me, okay? So, being a Virgo hermit already, a lot of the journey in requires one to learn how to be alone. How to be alone with yourself completely. Learning how to be still. Learning how to meditate. Learning how to come into self in ways that you don't always know that's what you're doing, but it's what you're doing, right? So some of y'all are going to get what I'm talking about when I say that. However, there's some times on the journey where I've noticed that I've been unguided, right? I'm guided. I surrendered 100% of my growth, my evolution to the divine. I've asked, my guides, my galactic family, my tribe to come in and guide that for me, like truly. I've surrendered to that instead of being like the alchemist and having to do all of that. For me, it's beautiful and it's needed, and I honor those that are like bosses doing it, like straight up. I get you, I see you. But for me, for my journey, I'm trying to find the work smarter, not harder version of things on this journey. Is what I'm coming full circle, so I'm just being honest. And so what I found was that on this journey, there's times where I have to separate from people that I'm even really close to. Like sometimes it's been like literally everyone in my household. And it's for a reason. And it's hard for people to understand if they're not going through it. So I feel like that's the importance of this video, is to support those of us that do this, that it's part of the journey, and at the same time being able to offer the comfort to those that are on the other side of it, that don't truly understand this side. We don't always come out and explain to people what we're going through when we're going through it, because we're just going through it, right? So, and with no timeline on how long it's going to take to, start to end, right? So that's where it can get confusing for those loved ones that, it is true that you will know when your tribe is there, because they're going to be the only ones that notice when you're silent. And that's a beautiful thing all in itself, but it's not why you do it, okay? So anyway, you go into solitude, you go into silence, you learn to feel everything, feel your thoughts. Like, I think before anything, I think we need to teach our children, and it's something I really genuinely work on with my family, is to feel everything and be unfiltered with it, so that we can know it, come to understand it, and address it in the way that is needed, in a very conscious and loving, higher evolving way. And that's kind of what I work with on a daily with my tribe around me. But I had to do that for myself first. So I had to do it a lot in solitude by myself. I had to learn to do that for myself before I can come out and help those around me do it. You see what I'm saying? That's what all of it, the whole journey in truly ultimately does. It's like you do it within yourself, and then as you have the wisdom, which only comes from the experience, you bring this wisdom to the world, because there's words and surface, and then there's root, truth, right? And both have value, both, but there's a difference when you feel it and versus when you know it. So again, understanding that on this journey, separation is not a bad thing. It should be honored. It should be understood. I think it should be communicated more openly. And at the same time, the reason why it's not always openly communicated is because people are not familiar with this spiritual journey. there's labels and judgments and all of this conditioning around it. And especially for those not experiencing it, it causes separation, right? Because you can't make anybody think or do or be anything than who they are. And you shouldn't want to. And you learn that on the journey as well, that love, true love, is taking a person, place, or thing entirely as they are right now and loving them as you love yourself. That is love. Radical love, right? It's unconditional. It's infinite. We don't naturally have that, right, as human beings. And this is what we're evolving into, right? That's what all this beauty of those of us waking up, and not that we're better or less than, but that's the light that's being brought to the planet. And so the light that we bring is that wisdom, that this is a process that a lot of people are doing and going through. And they do it in private because the world isn't exactly open and ready to understand. Well, it wasn't. I feel like it is now. I feel that. And I don't watch TV or get out much, but I feel that now. And so here's the thing. When I have gone out, I do feel it. I feel the shifts of the energy. And I've been getting out more. Before, it was hard to get out. This was another cause of the separation process. It's because I would go out in places and I would feel everything too much. Like I could feel people's worries. I could feel people's doubts. And I'm like, shit, I don't want to feel none of that. I don't need to know that shit. Like, that ain't my business. But I couldn't turn it off. Because once your gifts, abilities open up, you can't close them. Now you need to learn how to live in the world with that gift. And while it sounds all, woo-woo, it's a real thing. Just like anything else. That if you get a disability, right, you have to then change the way that you live to accommodate that change within your transformational self, right? All that. So I would feel so much when I would go places, and, I didn't like it. I didn't like feeling it. Then I couldn't turn it off, and I didn't know how to balance what was mine, what wasn't, how to like it was like I was just opening up to all the energy and everything. So I was like uncharted territory, right? And there's a lot of people that are trying to cope and do this the same way I did, in silence. And I think that's why now I have to make these videos and put this out there so that you all know that, those of you like me that were doing it in silent, that were, we had our ego, we had our pride, we don't need no help, we don't need nobody, right? Well, we did it. And it had its purpose. We could have done with it, but only without it do we now know that we could have done it with it, right? So again, everything has purpose. So for me to have done it this way, I am now here able to present the world with my truth of my wisdom in how learning what's yours versus what somebody else's is extremely important. And that comes in the separation on the journey phase. There's people, there's relationships, there's connections that are made and fall away during separation. Usually when we separate from people, it's just to kind of feel everything within ourselves, but then you learn to pay attention to how you feel around people. And you learn to pay attention to what is happening in the now. And when you do that, you don't have to use your gifts or nothing. You're just present, observing everything, right? Awake, but observing. And the universe is constantly showing you. And so what will happen is, you'll notice how somebody looks at you a certain way, and like where you didn't really notice it before, right? And it's almost like the truths, the unveiling. This is how it happens. This is seeing beyond the veil. That's that. Okay? That's that experience. And so, and it could look different for many people, right? It could go beyond that, depending on the realm. All that to say, you're not alone. Separation is necessary because you need to find out what is yours versus what is somebody else's. That is crucial on your journey. That is part of the journey. I mean, it is. And there's nothing bad. And until people can wrap their heads around this being a journey of self-love, radical self-responsibility, they're just not going to understand. And you have to just love people where they are, because the world needs that view, needs that perspective. We got to have balance. But you have free will and you have choice, right? Choice is your free will, okay? So separation on the journey is not abnormal. You will feel the distance between people, places, things, foods even sometimes. You know, I mean, you just all of a sudden just don't really like feel it. Like, I don't know, I used to love ramen noodles and now for whatever reason I just gag when I see it, right? It's shit like that that's like fucking out of nowhere. Like, I was good and you still are good. You're just evolving, right? Anyway, all that to say, as your frequency raises, your vibration raises, meaning, you know, you do more healing, wholeness within yourself, everything around you will shift and change to match the frequency in which you are healing, doing your, again, your reflection is coming back to you. So separation is not a bad thing, and it doesn't have to be permanent, but it does allow for everyone to take full responsibility for themselves if they choose to, or they can just simply sit on the sidelines and not need to understand why a loved one is doing that, but having a knowing in their heart that it's a journey. It's a personal journey and it's honored and there's nothing wrong. Okay? So, if any of you guys find yourselves lost or need some help or some wisdom or just some support, you know, on your journey, leave me a message or reach out, whatever. You know, I'm here. I'm here. You're here. We don't have to do it by ourselves, and it doesn't have to be hard anymore. So, I send you all wholeness, love, light. Namaste.